April was a weird month for me. I didn't get as much reading done as I wanted to. My focus wasn't there. However, I did manage to read 4 books. If you're new here, hi, I'm Alex. I'm a trans man who loves to uplift queer and trans books on my corners of the internet. Today, I am sharing my April reading wrap up. If you're new here, I don't star rate books, so I will just be reviewing the books, sharing the content warnings, and telling you all of my thoughts. I believe my reviews are in depth enough for you to know if I liked or disliked a book. Before we get started, I want to share a couple of things. May is my booktube birthday and my birthday month. To celebrate 12 years on booktube, I'm hosting a laid-back readathon in Discord through Patreon and Bindery, where we all read books that I've loved, recommended, and some of my favorites. I have a vlog planned to film during the week of my birthday where I reread some of my favorite books like I did last year. If you don't want to read a specific book, I have a bingo card that is filled with my favorite tropes and themes, so that's also an option. It's all through Discord. The link to Bindery is down below. There's been an influx of white cishet authors getting screen adaptations, prequels, sequels. Did you see that Veronica Roth announced she is writing a alternate universe series for Divergent? I ranted about this on my live stream a couple weeks ago, but I don't know what the purpose is. And I'm getting so frustrated that queer and BIPOC authors are not getting this at all. So if you feel the same way, join me over on Bindery. Your monetary support on Bindery goes a long way. It is my mission to launch my own imprint with Bindery, to be able to say that I have published queer and trans books that are getting prequels and sequels and maybe a movie or TV series, anything like that. The link is down below. I share exclusive content every week, whether it be my weekly newsletter where I share what I'm currently reading, filming, and my channel schedule for the week. I also share exclusive content every month. I did a video last month where I swapped my screen time for reading time, and I read some of the books that I will be mentioning in this video. By being a member of my Bindery, free or paid, you get access to my Discord where I host a monthly themed book club, and we have a lot of fun in there. Every week you're guaranteed to have some sort of exclusive content. A couple hours ago, I just posted our monthly Bookish poll, so that's something for paid members, and I do that every month. You can also request a personalized book recommendation from me. I just made a YouTube video where I answered the first 6 requests, so I'll link that down below. I appreciate any and all support. For paid members, it is as low as $5, which is practically a coffee. I'd love to have you over there and join the Paperback Pals. Now to the video. Today I also published the next episode of TBR Tackle, which is my series where I tackle my physical TBR 2 books at a time, but this time around it was actually 3 because I had booktubers pick what I read. It was so much fun. In that video, I read Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Cheryl Lee. This was so adorable. Speaking of TV adaptations, this has been optioned. It doesn't have anything official yet, but there are producers on it, I believe. So that's exciting. Basically, this is a YA Achillean romance with fake dating following Theo and Dylan, 2 boys who are of Chinese descent. Theo comes from a family of wealth, whereas Dylan is working at his Aunt Jade's takeout, and they are struggling with financial insecurity. There's been eviction notices and they are really struggling. Both boys have also lost their mothers and are grieving them. This was just such a sweet book. I will say the fake dating is very minimal, so if you're going into this wanting a true fake dating, this has fake dating, but it's not throughout the whole book. The only time they're really fake dating is at Theo's cousin's wedding. But if you like drama, this has a ton of it. There's multiple references to Crazy Rich Asians. They meet when Dylan is delivering an order from his aunt's takeout and he gets screamed in the face. It was not a good interaction. Theo comes to the restaurant the next day to apologize, and that's where the two hit it off and start to be present in each other's lives. Theo is very persistent. I really enjoyed him as a character, Dylan as well. There's a lot of food descriptions. I enjoyed that. This is a very foodie book. It talks about Chinese culture, and specifically Aunt Jade's takeout is Singaporean Chinese food. And there's a lot of food descriptions, which I enjoyed. I said it felt like I was eating the meal with them. To honor his mom and gain publicity for Aunt Jade's takeout, Dylan enters into the Mid-Autumn Festival. He and his mom were going to do it, but she passed away and didn't get a chance to. So Dylan feels it is his duty to do this for his mom. The festival is way towards the end of the book. Honestly, I would say this is more about the wedding than it is about the festival, but I did like the scenes that we got of the festival. I love a book that has a festival or like contest kind of theme. Overall, I really enjoyed this. Content warnings for grief, death of a parent in the past, cancer in the past, depictions of alcoholism, alcohol, classism. There's also some mentions of going to rehab, depictions of animal endangerment in the past, a drowning incident, car accident in the past. I also read Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Khorram, and I loved this. This was incredible. I have read from Adib Khorram before. I read Kiss and Tell, which I really enjoyed. And I have the sequel to this that I hope to pick up soon. I actually hybrid read this. Of course, I have the physical copy and I popped on the audiobook as well, and I just read in tandem. This was narrated by Michael Levi Harris. I really enjoyed this. We follow Darius, a teenage boy who has depression. He is really struggling in school with bullying and feeling like an outcast. He also has a rocky relationship with his dad. His grandparents are back in Iran, and they find out that his grandfather doesn't have much time left. So Darius and his family travel to Iran to be with their grandparents and with their grandfather for what will probably be the last time. There, Darius learns a lot about himself, his culture, and his family. This is the first time he's meeting his relatives in person. He talks to his grandparents through video call, but it's not the same. It's not enough time for them to bond. So while he's in Iran, he is bonding with his grandfather and his grandparents, just learning about his parents eating Persian food and being in Iran. There he meets a friend who he really hits it off with, and he learns more about himself, his dad, and their depression. His dad also suffers from depression, and they learn how genetic it is. Him and his dad also are able to mend their relationship. I really appreciated that. Darius has a lot of thoughts, as a teenager would, feeling like his dad just doesn't get him and doesn't like him. So I was glad that they actually had a great conversation about it. This book talks about the genetics of depression and how you can get it from your parent. I am also somebody who struggles with depression, so I really appreciated this book. Teenage me would have enjoyed this and appreciated it, felt seen. This is so important for teenagers to just feel like they're not alone. However, this can be heavy at times. It could be triggering for folks. It does have suicidal ideations and depressive thoughts, so just a content warning for that. Of course, I'll share the full content warnings when I'm finished reviewing this. It also talks about the stigma behind depression and how Persian culture views mental health. They don't talk about it at all. And Darius is often shamed for it. I don't know if shamed is the right word, but his relatives see that he's taking medication for depression, and the medication is shown in a positive light, and I am really appreciative of that. But when he's taking his medication, his grandparents and his relatives are like, "What do you have to be sad about?" And he's just like, "That's not the point. That's literally not what it is." I was just so proud of him for being confident and being able to stand up to his relatives and tell them that there's nothing wrong with him. He just has a chemical imbalance. He's not particularly sad about anything. I mentioned this in TBR Tackle, but I'll reiterate it here. Being sad is not the same as being depressed. You'll be sad when you run out of ice cream, or you're sad because you read a sad story. You cried. That's being sad. being depressed is not that. For somebody that has lived with depression for way too long, that's not how it works. I wish it was. I wish it was just one and done, but that's not how it works at all. But all in all, I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad I finally read it off my TBR. The depression rep was just so good. This was such a great, wholehearted book. I loved everything from start to finish. I don't have any critiques about it, and I'm excited to read the sequel. Content warnings for death of a parent, mention of brain tumor and sick relative, Islamophobia, bullying, depression, and suicidal ideations. Next, I read Wash Day Diaries by Jamila Rouser, illustrated by Robin Smith. I read this for a readathon I was hosting. In Discord, every season I do a weekend readathon from Friday to Tuesday, and I create a fun bingo card. The goal is just to read. This is also a laid-back readathon. My only rule is that we're reading books with queer rep and or by BIPOC authors, since I am promoting diverse books and I want to make sure that we are all reading diversely. So I ended up reading Wash Day Diaries because I had a prompt on the bingo card to read a graphic novel and to read a book under 200 pages. I loved this. I didn't have any expectations going into it, but it was just one of those books that hit at the right moment, and I was so glad I read. The color scheme was great. I loved the illustrations. Basically, this is following 4 best friends, Kim, Tanisha, Devine, and Cookie, through 5 connected short story comics that follow these young women through the ups and downs of their daily lives in the Bronx. This was so fun. I loved it so much. I don't have a thorough review. I just really enjoyed it. Content warnings for depression, stalking, dementia, toxic relationship, sexual content, drug use, minor instances of sexual harassment, racism, and biphobia. And last is a book I read for my book club. I host a monthly themed book club in Discord. It is super chill. We just read books based on the theme. May's theme is trans author, but April was nature. And I finally got around to Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Bully. But honestly, now I'm sad that I don't have anything more to read from her. She is fantastic. I genuinely didn't know what this book was about. I just knew it was Angeline Bully, and I was like, okay, I'll read it. It has wings on the cover, very nature-centered book from the cover alone. Oh my god, this was so good. I didn't know that this was a sequel, companion to Firekeeper's Daughter, which is one of my favorite books. This is set 5 years afterward. We follow Lily, a young girl. She's 19 years old, but we do get flashbacks to her childhood. I believe it's from, I want to say, age 12 to present day. She's been through a lot in her life. Grief, feeling abandonment, and her stepmom is just a wild lady. Throughout the book, she learns that her father kept her indigenous identity from her. They always just said, no, you're Mexican. As she goes through life and she meets the characters from Firekeeper's Daughter, she realizes that, yes, she's indigenous. But let's fast forward to the beginning of the book. She is all set to run. That's her thing. She's always running from place to place. She was in foster care and she is just used to running. So she has a plan that she is going to run. This is the day that she knows she is going to leave her current situation. She's working at a diner, and when her shift is over and they're all closing up, she's exiting the building when a bomb goes off. Fast forward to her waking up in a hospital and realizing that an explosion happened. There she meets Donis and Jamie from Firekeeper's Daughter. I enjoyed this so much. It was so gripping. I did listen to the audiobook and I had the ebook. The audiobook is narrated by Isabella Starr LeBlanc. Unfortunately, if I talk about this book, I will spoil it. So I'm going to try to not spoil at all. If you haven't read Firekeeper's Daughter already, you should. This is your sign to read it, especially if you like mystery thrillers. However, this reminded me why I don't read them, because I was so anxious. It didn't make me feel good. Angeline Bully is such a good storyteller. I loved that the Firekeeper's Daughter characters were back and they were very present in the book. It wasn't just a cameo. I loved learning how our character Lily is connected to Firekeeper's Daughter. Also, thank you to Angeline Bully for actually reminded us about what happened in Firekeeper's Daughter, because I think the last time I read it was like 2020, like around that time. So I appreciate that. I did see some reviews that were annoyed about that, and honestly, I loved it. I loved being reminded of what happened, but also just learning about what has happened since, because it's 5 years later. Oh my god, I just love this so much. It was so fun. I also like the way that this was written and like the style, because we do get flashbacks. Like I said, we're learning about Lily in the present and then in the past. Also talking about the foster care placement she was in. This is not a light story. None of Angeline Bully's books are. In all of her books, she highlights specific issues in the Indigenous community. Specifically in this book, she highlights ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. The Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 is a United States federal law that governs jurisdiction over the removal of American Indian children from their families in custody, foster care, and adoption cases. This was so good. I will read anything that Angeline Bully writes. She is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend this book. And all of her books, honestly. She has not written anything that I haven't enjoyed, but I need her to write more and for publishers to pick up more of her work, because now I'm finished reading all of her books and I'm sad about it. These content warnings are taken directly from the book. Content warnings for depictions of child sex trafficking, child abuse, teen pregnancy, explosions and bombing, ableism, anti-Indigenous racism and colorism, hospitalization, gun violence and death, mentions of police brutality, genocide, and colonialism. I'll also include that pregnancy is a pretty big storyline. Teen pregnancies, just talk about pregnancy. Some characters choose adoption. There is a scene where a birth does take place. This is a pretty short wrap up. I only read 4 books, but that does conclude this video. Let me know what you read in April. What was maybe a favorite, or did you just have a sucky reading month? Let's talk in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe. If you don't feel like leaving a lengthy comment, you could just leave a rainbow emoji. Thank you to my top members on Patreon and Bindery for your support this month. I appreciate you so much. If you would like to become a subscriber and join all of our fun activities, get exclusive content, the link to Bindery is down below.